Okay, that seemed to work. And then as our speakers begin to talk, just make sure you unmute yourselves as you are going to be presenting today. So again, welcome. We're glad everyone is here today. I'm going to turn it back over to Veldy, and she is going to start us off by giving our 2020 or 2021, excuse me, annual plan launch. So Veldy, turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Leanne. Now if I can find myself. Can you all hear me? I want to make sure I'm not muted. Okay. All right. Thank you, Leanne, for again getting us started this morning. Again, I do want to welcome everyone to our forum this morning. It's always an exciting time for me to be able to come and share with you updates from Family Connection and launch our FY21 plan, as well as to hear from so many of our key leaders in the community, the state of Morgan County. So this is always one of my favorite times of the year. I'm actually now headed into my 10th year as the Family Connection Coordinator here, and I am so honored to continue to serve such a great community and a great collaborative. As many of you have probably heard me say over the years that as we've been having these forums, when people ask what exactly is Family Connection, I always like to share that we are not an organization, we're not a nonprofit, we're not an entity, and that always is kind of difficult to wrap your mind around. But what we are a delegated authority. Actually, back in April of 2000, the Georgia legislature delegated authority to us as Family Connection to be the catalyst in the community that works to identify needs of families in the community, and then to facilitate partnerships in the community to help address those needs. And so we have been doing that now for the last 20 years here in Morgan County. And again, it's only possible because of your great support. I just want to jump in here and just kind of share with you some highlights and what we've been doing over the past year. And I do want to share with you that we are, our funding, we are a line item in the Georgia state budget. And so we actually last year, we were able to get our budget back up to $50,000 thanks to our legislators and our governor signing us back up to $50,000 last year. This year, we are impacted by the 4% cut that is going across all state organizations, but that's why it's so important that you, our community partners, and collaboration is so important during times like this, because it's because of you we're able to keep our programs, our services, and our initiatives going. So thank you for your service. One other point I'd like to make before I share highlights. The Morgan County Family Connection is just one of 158 collaboratives in the state of Georgia. There is a Family Connection collaborative in every county in the state, but each collaborative looks different because it is strictly based upon the needs of that community. And so here in Morgan County, the way we determine what needs we're going to focus on as a community and as a group, we have an annual strategic plan each year. And this year, that strategic planning meeting was held in January. And I just want to just kind of share with you some of the things that we discussed and what happened at that meeting as we came up with our plan for FY21, just to give you an idea of what we do. So back in January, we had community partners to come together, and basically we broke off into groups to look at the data, to look at what we were going to focus on, what was going on in our community, and how we were going to address those needs. And so we broke off into 3 major groups because we have 3 strategies that we work on. We have a children safe and family strong strategy that focuses on keeping children, just what it says, keeping children safe, make sure we have enough resources in the hands of families so that they're strong. We have a strategy where we work on educated and working, where we come together to make sure that we have the partners able that are ensuring that our community is working and educated. And then we also have a youth development strategy, and that youth development strategy works to make sure that we have things in place to make sure our youth are developing so that they can be successful as time moves on. So what we do at that meeting is we look at data. Our community partners bring data, I bring data to the table. And so when you look at this, this is what we call our Birth to 21 profile. And this is provided to us through our state organization, the Georgia Family Connection Partnership. And it is generated through the Etnie Casey Foundation that gathers data for related to children and youth all across the country. But this is specific to Morgan County. And as you will look down here, you will see just a highlight of some of the data. We have health and safety, family and economic well-being, as well as education. The green dot, if you look on the side, the green dot says that we are at least 10%, doing 10% better than the state rate in that particular area. Red dot means we're doing 10% worse than the state. And the yellow means that we are within 10%, either better or worse than the state. And so people can interpret that how they want it, whether they think the state rate is a good rate or whatever, but this just kind of gives you an idea. And so as you look here, you'll see that some areas we are in the red, some areas we are in the yellow, and some areas we are in the green. And we look at this as we're determining what we're going to focus on in the coming years. This chart here, if you can see it, it kind of gives us an idea of where we were last year. The one on the right tells you where we were last year compared to where we are now. In some areas, you'll see we're doing better. Some areas we are doing about the same. Some areas we are not doing as well. And so this kind of shows us the trends that we look at. I want you to know that the reason I'm sharing this with you is because we are strictly driven by data and what we are doing. Speaking of trends, if you look at kind of the trends that are going on here in Morgan County since last year, you will see here on your left side of the screen just kind of the indicators that we watch here in Morgan County. And again, the green dot, yellow dot, red dot still means the same compared to the state rate. And you'll see kind of how we are doing as how we're trending. On the right is more of a graphic of how we're trending. So if you see like children absent more than 15 days from school, you can kind of look at how we've been doing over the last few years here in Morgan County. The bottom is teens not in school and not working, ages 16 and 19. You'll see how we're doing compared to the state in that area. I'm just going to flip through these quickly. Again, these are still trends that we look at here in Morgan County. Ninth grade students reported alcohol use, teen births, STD incidents. Ninth grade students reporting perception of negative risk and alcohol consumption. Again, you see how we are trending over the last 5 years. This last one is substantiated incidents of child abuse and neglect. Again, it just shows you how we are trending here. Just want to show you this because these are not in our annual plan, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. These are not in our plan, but the data also kind of gives us something to look at. What's not in our plan, but we may want to take a look at it just because of how the data is trending. And you'll see that on this particular slide here. And again, it's not in our current plan, but again, we look at this data when we come back together in January to determine, do we need to tweak our plan any? After we met, then this is what our annual plan for FY21 looks like. We still have our 3 strategies, as you will see in the middle of the screen here. Our strategy 1 is children safe and family strong. Strategy 2, educated and working. And strategy 3, youth development. Pretty much when we met, we determined that this is pretty much where we wanted to stay for this year. You see the benchmarks above each of those strategies, kind of what we're going to be gauging and how we're going to determine whether we're being successful, what we're trying to reach. And then at the bottom, the strategy statement. I just want to highlight a couple of things here before I'll let our next speaker start speaking. Under Children Safe and Family Strong, this is one of our most, our larger strategies. We have a lot of different things that fall up under here. One thing that I do want to highlight is our First Steps program. I think we're going into our 6th year with the First Steps program. Through that program, we've served probably close to 1,100 families so far since its inception. And the main focus of that is to make sure parents with children 0 to 5 have the resources that they need in order to be safe and strong. And so we provide them with information on home safety, child seat safety, and make sure that each of them are either connected to a insurance company, have insurance, or we give them a referral to for insurance. Our Parents as Teachers program, that is an intensive home-based, evidence-based program. Through that program, since its inception, we have served probably about 20 families, but again, it is more of an intense family. This year alone, we have had our parent educator has visit the homes of our families, and we have 17 families we served this year that she did about 300 in-home visits. This year, she referred families to about 150 resources. And so again, this is an intense program which geared toward making sure our students 0 to 5, that they're ready to start kindergarten when they come through those doors on the kindergarten year. The only other thing I want to highlight from this plan is our back to school rally and our community, back to school rally and our community-wide backpack drive. This year, as you know, we had to do things a little bit differently. Usually this is one of the biggest festive events that our collaborative hosts each year, where we have hundreds of families coming in with the band kicking off and all of that. But this year, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we did decide to only collect the supplies and give them out, let the schools distribute them. But I do want to share with you that we were able to collect, thanks to our partners, AmeriGroup, CareSource, and First Readers of Morgan County, 550 backpacks with hundreds of supplies that were donated from our community partners. And each one of these were distributed to the schools who are distributing them to the students as needed. So again, this is all made possible because of you. I just wanted to end by saying that as I started off, because we're not an entity or a nonprofit, standalone nonprofit or anything like that, that our collaborative is you. You are the collaborative. You make it possible. And again, for 20 years, you have been making it possible through your sponsorships, through events, through your in-kind donations, through your volunteer hours. You make it possible. And it's only because of you that we're able to continue the work of one, identifying what needs our community have, looking at the data, looking at the trends, and bringing you to the table to say, how are we going to continue to address what needs to be addressed so all of our children and all of our families are successful. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you, and we will continue this work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Veldy, for your leadership, visioning, and all the work that Family Connections does each and every day. I just want to spend just a couple of minutes, brief minutes with you this morning to welcome you, to say good morning, Morgan County and fellow collaborators. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules this morning in order to hear this important update related to the state of affairs in our amazing community. As 2019 was winding down, a half a world away, we began to hear about COVID-19, better known to most as the coronavirus. In February 2020, the first case of COVID-19 was diagnosed in the United States, and on March 2nd, 2020, our great state saw its first confirmed case of the virus. I could not have imagined that in the ensuing 5 months, our new normal would consist of buzzwords like pandemic, flattening the curve, shelter in place, social distancing, and most recently, virtual learning. Much of the state was shuttered, in-person learning halted, restaurants closed, day-to-day activities that many of us take for granted halted. Even our county buildings were no match for the virus as we made the decision to close for in-person business transactions in early April. These times are no doubt truly unprecedented. However, we cannot allow our story to end here. Each day that we wake up, we are afforded the opportunity to exercise the power of free will. That's right, we the people have the ability to work together in order to promote a sense of belonging, happiness, and hope for one another. As this forum continues, I encourage you to pay close attention to each of our panelists today. For each speaker will share a story of hope and strength happening right here in our amazing community. Shortly, you'll be hearing from our County Chairman, Philip, about all the happenings in county government. But I did want to take a moment to highlight the county budget. Our FY20 budget cycle ended on June 30th. Each year, I challenge our amazing team of managers, elected officials, and frontline employees to do everything possible to keep a watchful eye on their spending. I'm pleased to report that the county came in under budget by over $650,000 for FY20. Our fund balance is strong, yielding at least 3.5 months of operating reserves. Our fiscal approach to conservative spending has allowed the county to take the rollback millage for this coming tax year. Our SPLOST and T-SPLOST revenues continue to be strong despite the pandemic happening around us. While 2020 has not been our biggest fan, our community truly does have a lot to be proud of. I'm glad that I have the opportunity to serve alongside each of you daily. Remember, we are stronger together, we are better together, we will get through this together, for together we are one Morgan.
Bob, you need to unmute yourself.
That's much better, isn't it? Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, good morning again. Usually I would give you an update of the economic development in our activity in our region, usually, but these are not usual times. With the coronavirus concerns, the State Department of Economic Development, the folks at Georgia Power, who we work with all the time, are not going about business as usual. As a matter of fact, they're not traveling, so we don't get to see much of them unless it's through a Zoom meeting like this one. We also had to put on hold our initiatives with the Board of Education for our internship program for the students, our externship program for teachers, and our leadership development for our youth through stronger civic understanding of our local government. These programs are meant to forge a stronger tie between our business community and the education community. These and almost all of our community outreach programs for our members have been put on hold. Anyway, our industries they have continued to operate, but with new safety guidelines. We have seen a couple of hiccups, but our businesses basically put in place protocols dealing with infected employees. They have instituted precautions and encouraged masks and social distancing where possible. They have developed plans for dealing with this pandemic. Our unemployment rate is dropping and our local industries are hiring. In April, our unemployment rate was 11.7%. Our latest report for the month of June shows a rate of 6.3%, which still equates to about 546 folks. But I expect that the July report will show a lesser rate than that. We have seen a pickup of commercial activity, and I would expect that that segment is going to continue to improve as we weather this storm. As a matter of fact, if you've been to any of our fast food restaurants, you may have noticed longer lines showing that folks are eating out, but not in. Our typical dine-in restaurants have had to adapt to COVID-19, but they are continuing to operate. We have a resilient economy, and as Adam mentioned, we will get through this together. One last thing of note, in 2018, which is the latest information I have, Morgan County was 9th in the state in per capita income at almost $49,000 a year. However, in contrast to that, our poverty rate ranks as 25th in the state, with 2,374 people, or 12.7% of Morgan County citizens, living below the poverty level. Now, while this rate is better than most other counties in our state, we can do better than that. Thank you, Veldy, for all you do, and we'll all get, like we said, we're all going to get through this together. With that, Virgil, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Veldy, for doing this. Just welcome everybody and good morning. Happy to be here. So for the state of education, things are going, I think, as well as it could under the circumstances. Just very proud of the team that we've had. Obviously, opening schools during a pandemic is not something we've prepared for usually, but a lot of work went into this school summer and a lot of pre-planning to get ready for this. We knew we'd have some maybe some bumps in the road as we worked through this, but we were prepared for that as best we could. And just very proud again of everything that's going on. That impact, obviously, we're having cases that come into our schools that we're dealing with. So far, it's not to any kind of point that would, impair our ability to keep going. And we're just taking it day by day to and making it the best we can. It's been very encouraging being in our schools and seeing the compliance of our students. They've been awesome. The mask wearing has been phenomenal in our schools. I know that's been kind of a controversial topic for some. But our schools, they understand in many cases we're requiring it when they can't socially distance. And so I'm very proud of them for working hard. One of our principals said, I think last week, she overheard one of her students say, if we can't do it in Morgan County, nobody can, and that makes me very proud. But everybody's pulling together like you'd hope they would. We've got principals cleaning schools, fogging when they need to. We're all having to pull and do jobs that we may not normally do, but we understand it's about just getting through this. And so you should all be very proud of the work of our educators in this community. But I think it's just a culture that's been set before I got here. Of course, with Dr. Woodard and previous superintendents have done a great job. The One Morgan theme is extremely strong here. And I think that makes a huge difference. And your support as well from a community standpoint. The PSA that we did a week or two ago was well received. And I think, it's been going, like I said, as good as it could be under the circumstances. We're just kind of, again, taking it day by day. We're working through each issue that comes our way, and just seeing the students, how the response has been, not just from a compliance standpoint, but also just being, I think they're so excited to be there and be with their friends and be back at school. And I think we're making a huge impact in that way. So I'm proud of that. I know other systems have chosen different routes. Every community is a little bit different. I think we're doing what's best for here, for Morgan. And so I'm very proud of that. One thing that we've worked hard to do the last few days or last week or so is I think that's critical for all this is transparency. And so if you haven't looked, we've on our front website, right there at the top, we've listed our current cases and situations from a daily update. So we're kind of driving our parents and community or anybody else that wants to know, what's happening in our schools on a daily basis. They can look online and find it right there. We want to be as transparent as possible. I heard somebody yesterday say that the foundation of integrity at any institution really is transparency. And so that's something we're really striving hard to do. And I think during a pandemic, especially and all that's going on, but any time, frankly, communication is critical, and especially now. And so we're working really hard to make sure everybody understands what's going on in our schools and providing maybe a little bit of a way to look at the data in a different kind of way so that we're as transparent as possible and give it a little bit of context. And I appreciate all the work that's going into that. It's not easy for our principals working through this every day. It's not easy for even the central office. But again, everybody's pulling together, and I'm just very proud of the team, here. But as far as the start of school, obviously in the backdrop of COVID, traffic is always an issue at the beginning of the year. We're opening up our new middle school. We didn't have the chance to really break it in the spring like we normally would, or like we planned to do. But I think all in all, we made some adjustments kind of as we look at it every day and just kind of take an assessment of that. And I've been very pleased with the last few days of what I've seen for the traffic. It's really gone very well. And again, going in the schools and just seeing the learning that's going on already has just been fantastic. So again, a lot of great teachers, a lot of great staff, everybody pulling together. Just very proud of that. And as far as that goes, as far as our budget, I know that as a school system, like every school system in Georgia, we took a huge cut. At the beginning in the spring, the state kind of paused their legislative session because of the pandemic. They picked it up back in June, but that let us all kind of hanging. And it started off where we heard there was going to be a 14% cut. It ended up being 10, which we were grateful for, which is a lot in and of itself. But thankfully, our board has been fantastic through the years of being very fiscally conservative. We have a very good reserve fund, and we were able to make some more cuts. Dr. Woodard really worked through that before I got here. But we really try to protect what was most important, which is what's going on in our classrooms. But 10% is not easy. It's certainly going to hurt us. It's not easy, especially because our expenses in some way are up about cleaning and different areas like that we're trying to support our schools. So, but we're making it work. We were able to actually roll back our millage rate to 14.068, which is frankly probably one of the lowest that I've seen as far as the school system. And I think we've done that for 13 years in a row. So I think that speaks to a very fiscally responsible and conservative school system that does it the right way. And I'm very proud of that. I think we should be in our county. Of course, we are going out for another East Bloss, which the 5 years, I'm sure it's hard to believe how quickly that goes by. But we are asking that to be renewed during the election in November. And hopefully the things that we're doing will, at least people will give it a consideration and vote at least one way or the other for that. For the East Bloss. But I think when we built the new middle school and the high school, part of that was that we would probably need to East Bloss to pay that off, and we will continue to do that. And again, I think we've shown a lot of fiscal responsibility. So again, we just hope people will consider that as they go forward. Again, I just want to thank our board. We've had you've seen COVID. The PSA kind of spoke to this. Divide a lot of communities, divide a lot of school systems, divide a lot of boards of education and commissions. Areas, but I haven't seen that here. We have a very cohesive board. I'm very thankful for that. I think it makes a huge difference in the foundation of our school system that we're a team at the beginning here as as a team at the board. So that makes a big difference, and I'm just very proud of that here. And you should be very proud of your board members for being very supportive. The support we've gotten from the community has been overwhelming. I know people kind of worry about what's going on in the school system, but I'm constantly seeing very positive comments or hearing from others about their support for our school system, and are very appreciative that we're giving it a go right now, and I think we're doing a very good job in that regard. Some interesting, good, positive news that I've heard lately. Our softball team was playing one of the Newton County high schools on Friday, and you may have heard Newton County shut down all fall sports, regardless of the sport, for the rest of the semester. So they may pick it back up. They didn't know that, but our softball coaches, of course, got wind of that. They were playing at Morgan County. And our softball coaches and some of our coaches at the high school decided to recognize, I think, a couple of the seniors that were at Eastside High School, because it could be their last game. And I thought that was really neat. We got some really nice recognition for that. And again, I think, it speaks to the great team here in the school system. We've gotten a lot of positive comments about our transparency. And some even said we've set the bar as far as being open about that. And again, I think that's very important about what's going on and how that's impacting our school system for our community to know what's going on. So that's the things we're working through. I think you should be very proud of the school system. Again, I'm just here part of a great team, and I'm just very happy to be here and blessed to be here. And we got a lot of people working very hard, and just very appreciative of that. And again, thank you for your support. I think that makes a huge difference of us all pulling together. You've heard the theme, of course, the One Morgan, and we're better together, and certainly makes a huge difference. So I appreciate everything, and I guess the next will be our state of the local governments. But thank you very much.
Good morning, Valdi. This is Philip on Hunchang. Can you hear me? I'm currently the chairman of the county commission, and I appreciate you having me this morning. I want to give you an update on the county. We are continuing what we've done in the past few years, that is to do a lot of repairs and updates on county buildings and roads and everything else that's associated with the county. I'll give you an example right there. We've started the beginning of the year with the Schneider project, which was a $3.5 million project that will save $2 million over the next 20 years. The Schneider project is associated with the courthouse, the PFC, also the jail, and the aquatic center. An example on the aquatic center, we have recently spent over $1 million to upgrade the whole aquatic center to bring it up to date, put a new desert air unit in there, which is up to speed. The old one was a little bit too small for the building, so this new one is adequate for the building, and so you will see a great improvement as far as the air quality in the building. But that's not the only thing. We also upgrading other county buildings. For example, this building I'm in right now, we just recently put a new roof on it because the roof's been leaking for the last 10 years, and we had to put plastic over our materials in here to keep it from getting rained on, and it's being done and it's being fixed, and we're glad to see that. Also, we were very happy to have the T-SPLOST funding passed, and so we are doing good projects with that. We've recently completed the Broughton Road from I think 83 South went over to Broughton. There was about 6 miles of new pavement, and we widened the road 2 feet on each side. It's a heavily trafficked road, so we're glad to complete that project. Part of it was funded by T-SPLOST money, and part of it by LMAG money from the state. We've also recently completed a project together with the school as far as the East Avenue project, which we had some issues with the school traffic, obviously in the morning and in the afternoon when parents came and picked up their children. So we put another lane in it and trying to alleviate some of the traffic problems over on East Avenue. Also had the opportunity to take some spots with T-SPLOST money to buy some tractors and some mowers for the right-of-way. So we'll see much better right-of-ways being cut with new equipment on that. Another thing we did was T-SPLOST. We did a road study. The road study's getting ready to come out, and it will take the politics out of repaving roads. So this study will highlight roads that are in need of repaving or in need of some kind of work being done. And so it's not anymore who's the most popular commissioner or anything like that, or who's the chairman, who's not the chairman. It's going to be strictly based on the needs of the road. And we're looking forward to that coming out in just the next couple of weeks here. Which brings me to the next subject, which is solid waste. We know we got an issue with the dumpsters as far as them overflowing and they need some repairs and this and that. So we had our county manager, Adam Mestris, the other day take a whole day and did a whole route by himself as far as running these dumpsters and compressing the waste and to kind of see what's involved with that. And I joined him for a little bit and kind of get a feel of what needs to be done with it and what we can do. So we're in the process of hiring a solid waste director to address that and hopefully come up with a solution. We know as the county grows, we will have more solid waste to be put in these dumpsters. So we need to do something, and we are aware of it, and we are in the process of addressing it. Brings me to the next item, which is one thing I really wanted to mention is the census. We are currently at 59% of the census being done in this county right there, which has been completed. We really need to try to complete as much as possible on the census because, as y'all know, so much is based on the census and the outcome of the census. So we really need to have a good turnout on it. First, the information came out that we were not going to have somebody going door to door. Apparently that's been changed now. So we will have somebody coming to your door to make sure that you complete your census. Please do so. It's beneficial for all of us. It's a lot of funds available from the federal government, state governments, all based on census and population. So please, if you get a chance, complete your census and turn it in. And Adam's already touched on taxes. Very happy to report that we're holding the line on taxes. We've done well the last few years on taxes. We are again taking the rollback rate. So we are very proud of the employees of this county and the administration as far as holding the line. And that is about all I have to report on the county. Thank you for having us.
You're muted, Mr. Mayor. You want to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Sister Ms. Hardy, for having us to share with you what our city and our county and community are doing here as a whole. In spite of the COVID-19 pandemic that we continue to face, our city continues to move forward with special projects that we have been working on in the past. Joseph Smith, working with our Washington Street Gateway, our architecture has completed designs for the Bull Street Warehouse building on Washington Street across from Adrian's Restaurant to house a long-term area anchors, a restaurant and package store. Also, Todd Peaster of Georgia Civil Incorporated, Madison completed the engineering for the site and construction financing is in progress with United Bank. Parking lot for the Gateway, the project is splash funded for 75 space untimed parking spaces on the Gateway project. Utility efficiency upgrades and extension projects. Water meters for entire system now converted can be monitored at Main Street office. Leaks will be detected quickly and customers informed to save money when there is a leak. Our water treatment plant now uses scanner software, allow monitoring of all functions remotely, including on smartphones. Our utility mapping project underway, water, gas, and sewer will be mapped through GPS into a geographic information system available on crews, smartphones in the field, aiding locations of infrastructure during emergency and non-emergency situations. Housing, as most of you know, WellBridge, a continuum of care development with 250 plus units and 24/7 care facilities is under construction. Parallel Housing Incorporated in Water, working with the DDA, has received approved for low-income houses tax credit, home funding for the Canaan Crossing, the highest scoring rural project in Georgia this year. Annexation is pending and construction will begin in late fall for the development of 60 townhouses for workforce housing. Our Madison Initiative Community Housing Team has secured another $306,000 CHIP housing grant to improve modest single-family housing stock and bring these up to code. This addresses another 8 to 10 houses in the target area, leaving less than a dozen of the initial 75 substandard living conditions unit left to bring up the area. Recent zoning modifications have allowed the introduction of more loft housing in downtown Madison, with limited permission for micro units and some ground floor near elevation loft. Downtown expects about 30 of these units to be online in 2021. And our new public facilities, there will be new restrooms at Hill Park. They are being designed to process their design, but at that time the cost was too high. We're trying to get them back on the budget, and these restrooms will be a template for Wellington and Gilbert Park. Rehabilitation of the Smith Cottage next to the public safety building is complete. The building is the new home of the Main Street and planning departments, who will be moved in by September 1st. So Main Street is no longer in our city hall. They are have their own facility now next to our public safety building. Our quality of life initiative. The first phase of Lambert Park at Main Street and College Drive is complete, including landscape, picnic areas, walking tracks, and public art. A graphic of Morgan County and a sculptural piece to be dedicated late this summer. Installation of the dog park and playground are contingent on funding, but neighborhood efforts have been commenced. The Martin Tot Light on Whitehall Street is nearly complete. This fall, the equipment arrives, targeted for younger children with a workforce theme. This time honoring the educational professionals and specifically educator Marie Bass Martin, who were a long time educator here in our community, and we want to leave this legacy for her. The Green Space Conservation Commission is finalizing the route of the mile of a family-friendly multi-mile trail for the Madison Greenway through a 25+ acre gift by the city and private donors and generous trail easement from the Board of Education. Our jobs and development and redevelopment continues. As you know, Love Travel Stop and Country Store with a Hardee's restaurant is nearing completion. A new car wash facility will soon break ground on Eatonton Road. The Board of Education, with the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Madison and its DDA, has kept our local surplus school property from being boarded up like so many schools. And we continue to thank the Board of Education for working with our city and our DDA to keep the middle school ahead of times. The community development portion of the site has met all 3 established objectives. The DDA signed an agreement with a higher educational institution, Georgia Military College, to expand their campus into the area. The city is also coordinated in preparing a spring application for a $500,000 community development block grant to facilitate upgrades and expansion on site by the Boys and Girls Club and the Pearl Barney Association is establishing a nonprofit history center to honor the African American education heritage of the site. Lastly, a community garden effort and alternate recreation mountain bike path are being planned by private parties for a portion of this site also in the middle school area. The economic development portion of the site is being planned and continue to be worked on as time continues to progress. And we're just, as many of you know, we're still facing COVID-19 in our city, in our county, and in our community. But if we continue to be one market as we always have been and work together, and let's continue to fight this COVID-19 together, and all of us can make the best better for a healthy community. At this time, we will listen to state of our healthcare.
Thank you, folks, and good morning. Last year during this presentation, I spoke mainly about two subjects: the new and improved medical equipment at our local community hospital and the construction of the new building. We continue to upgrade and improve equipment across the hospital and continue to invest in infrastructure to ensure we maintain the physical aspects of 21st century medicine. The challenges of COVID-19 have certainly been great, and we have had to modify how we do business to meet the high demands of patient and staff safety. One of the aspects of this pandemic that is very unique, not just here but throughout the country, is the fact that volume from people seeking medical care on both an outpatient and emergency standpoint has fallen, something not heretofore generally seen during a health or medical emergency. During the first couple of months of the pandemic, visits to the emergency department fell by over 40%, and although are recovering, are not to pre-pandemic levels. The hospital did experience overall growth of 32% as compared to fiscal year 2019. However, we were on track through 8 months of fiscal 2020 to achieve overall growth of about 6% more. As of yesterday morning, we have collected 949 coronavirus samples for testing, and 178 resulted positive. I say collected because just about all of the testing we do regarding the coronavirus are shipped to an outside lab. We are on our 8th lab since March in pursuit of quick turnaround times. Likewise, since March, we have been after our suppliers to stock reagent for the PCR machine that we have so we can test locally and result much quicker. Finally, 5 months later, we received our first shipment of reagent, and it was a limited quantity and will remain so for the foreseeable future. As such, we are restricting PCR to the inpatient setting and critical staffing at the hospital, the county, and the city of Madison. Our hope is that the supply increases in order to make it available more broadly. We formed a coronavirus task force in February of this year, and the following month we stood up the Hospital Emergency Incident Command System and commenced the Emergency Operations Plan. This provided us flexibility in meeting the needs of the pandemic. We closed the hospital to visitors and prioritized pandemic-related resources such as drugs, PPE, and equipment. We also utilized the Federal Payroll Protection Program, and we were the recipient of funds through the CARES Act. Since the last iteration of this gathering, Morgan Medical Center earned gold status through the Georgia Department of Public Health's Georgia Honor Roll for antibiotic stewardship. This status is significant because it displays our commitment to excellence in antibiotic therapy and evidence-based medicine, which in turn promotes optimal patient outcomes. Meds to Bed, also known as patient discharge dispensing, is new to Morgan, and it is a pharmacy service offering education about medications and delivery of prescription medications to the patient's hospital room before discharge. This service assists in the patient's transition of care and ensures the patient will have the medication in hand without delay to take as directed by the physician when they get home. Also, our lead pharmacist obtained her BPS board certification this year. This certification recognizes that pharmacists are qualified to contribute to the healthcare team at advanced practice levels and to manage patients with complex or special medication needs. BPS certification also brings enhanced credibility to the health team partnership that is caring for patients. New in the imaging department are CT-guided liver and renal biopsy and ultrasound-guided biopsy. With the addition of MRI last year, we are now able to and have performed both shoulder and hip arthroscopy. We have also added fluoroscopy-guided PICC lines to assist patients when they have long-term medication. Keeps them from having to be stuck all the time. Also new is vacuum-assisted breast biopsy. This collects bigger tissue samples and allows a more definitive pathology report. As I made mention to a year ago, cardiac nuclear stress tests were added this past year. Liver elastography, which measures the stiffness of the liver, was also added this year. I would like to thank Chairman Von Honstein and County Manager Adam Mestris for keeping the hospital in the communication loop and for including us in county emergency management. And I want to acknowledge all the folks who during the first few months of the pandemic sent their love and support with food and snacks for the staff. In closing, I do believe that Morgan Medical Center played a vital role in the health of this community during the pandemic and proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that it matters that there is a new hospital in the county. We would not have been able to provide the services or engender public confidence, in my opinion, if we were still at the old place. Before I go, I want to publicly thank both Bill and Robert and their officers for the job that they do every day. And Bill, I hope you're doing better. Thanks, y'all, and that's it for me.
Good morning. I'm not Mayor Fred Perryman, but I realized this morning I do not have a camera on my computer, so he was kind enough to let me join with him and borrow his computer so I could be on this Zoom meeting. And thank you. I appreciate the well wishes as far as my sickness is gone. Many of y'all know that I have suffered from COVID-19 myself, so I can tell you that it's not a political thing that's going on. It's real. I had 3 weeks of misery at home. I did not have to go to the hospital. However, I had a high fever for a little over a week, bad headaches, and my symptoms were very uncomfortable, and I did get a little bit nervous. So I can tell you I take this very seriously, and I hope everyone in our community will do the same thing, because it is a serious thing. As far as public safety goes, we're kind of in a situation right now. Everyone knows all you have to do is turn on the news just for a few minutes and you can see all the things going on throughout our country. As far as law enforcement goes, it's not a particularly desirable career that people are entering right now. And since all these things are going on throughout our country, I've had 3 officers to leave us, and we are very short-handed right now. We do have one in the academy right now that's being trained to come work for us, and we are still accepting applications for anyone who may be interested in joining the Madison Police Department. I can assure the community, even though we're short-handed, we will be here to answer calls. We're not going to let the community suffer. Our guys and girls are very capable and willing to come out and work overtime, so our shifts are covered. So the city is taken care of as far as that goes. And I have also reached out to Sheriff Markley to let him know that we are short-handed, and if we need anything from the Sheriff's Department, he has always been very willing to assist us and help us in any way, and we're also grateful for that. I have, as far as the, trying to recruit and retain police officers, I have presented David Nunn, our city manager, with a proposal to look at the pay scale for police officers that are here, and also to try to come up with a plan that may try to recruit people who have experience in other law enforcement agencies. And he is very gracious to have looked at my proposal, and I know that he has presented that to the city council, and I'm confident that David Nunn, the mayor, and our city council members will look very closely at this, look at the need for good qualified police officers to be here in Madison, Georgia, so we can provide the best service that we possibly can for the community here. And I'm sure that we'll be talking soon about this proposal and hopefully retain and recruit good qualified police officers. In the past, we have had a few protests in Madison. Most of y'all probably are aware of that, but if you look throughout the community, the country, all the problems that are having with the rioting and looting and things like that, I'm happy to say that our community has not done any of this. The people who wanted to have a march or a prayer vigil have come to us and to the city and followed the proper protocol as far as applying for permits and working with us to make sure everything is safe. And I'm happy to say that everyone was very cordial, and all of our marches and prayer vigils were very peaceful, and I'm grateful for that and grateful for the community we have. Everything else in our department is going very well. I'm happy to say that this is a wonderful place to work, and the city has been gracious to the police department. And with that, I will sign off and now turn it over to Sheriff Robert Mark.
Good morning. Just wanted to tell everybody thank you very much. Thank you for having this meeting this morning so that we could talk to everybody and kind of let everybody know where things stand. But I also wanted to express a particular thank you to the citizens of Morgan County for the support that they've shown our officers over the past several months. Not only dealing with the COVID, but also dealing with some of the unrest that's going on about the rest of the country. The chief just spoke about it just a little bit about the march that we had here in town, and actually a couple of marches that we had in town and prayer vigil. And it's interesting because through social media and everything else, we heard several comments from different citizens saying how they were going to hold us responsible if something happened and the marches got out of hand or whatever else. But I got to tell you, and everywhere I go, that the people that were involved in those marches were as kind to us as anybody could be. There was never a negative word said about law enforcement, never a negative word said about what goes on here locally, and I appreciate that. And that just kind of makes me feel like we're doing the right things here and we're putting our citizens first and everything else. So it is difficult to hire people. We are down one jail position as of this Friday that we're still seeking applicants for. I think that's just the world that we're in right now, and I think it's going to be difficult like this for quite some time. We are trying to market towards some of the metro areas that maybe the officers don't feel the support from their citizenry as we do, our citizens show us down here. So we are trying to get some of the people from those areas to come out here to where they can be appreciated. I will tell you that we have experienced some COVID cases within the sheriff's office. It started out with we did have some positive tests inside the jail, but with no symptoms of inmates. We had 4 cases that were positive, but no symptoms at all. That was followed up by, now we've had a total of 5 officers or employees at the sheriff's office since February that have had experienced the COVID-19 virus. We have one that's actively dealing with it as we speak right now, that's out of work. The others have returned to work and are doing very well. We spoke a little bit earlier about traffic when we were talking about the schools. This year was particularly challenging. We had a new school coming online. I will tell you that the school plans, the plans that the school came up with and worked through for the middle school and the high school were spectacular. I think those 2 schools actually are doing better than they ever have in the past. I think our elementary school, with the new driveway that they put around back to extend the car rider line a little bit further, has helped, and the turn lane that the county and the school joined together on has been a great help. But I think the perfect storm hit us this year with the COVID-19 and the parents not wanting to put the kids on the bus the first couple of days of school, even more so than other times. I think there was the first day or two of school, there was, I think some numbers were thrown out there that was 80% of the kids came by car to the schools. Now that's leveled off and our traffic's starting to ease down a little bit. And we're working to get that in, to come up with even better solutions. And I've got to applaud the school system for their efforts in coming up with those plans. And we work hand in hand with them. I do want to say that the relationship with the City of Madison Police Department, we stand ready to help them any way we can, but more so they have been there for us, and we appreciate that. And we're going to keep pushing in that direction with not only the city, but also with our surrounding counties, our state and federal partners in law enforcement. We have, over the past couple of months, we have experienced an uptick in some entering autos. We've partnered with some of our neighborhoods to come up with some solutions to try to deal with those. Most recently, the successful camera install that was put down in the Morgan Estates has proven itself to be worthwhile. By when they had a series of car break-ins, we were able to get those resolved within an hour or two of being notified of the break-ins. We were able to identify the car, and actually our officers were en route to Augusta to pick up the people involved. So those have been proven to be well worth the time and effort for those neighborhoods. And we are actively trying to get the rest of the communities or neighborhoods to sign on with the same service or a similar service. It really is worthwhile. You know, the environment we're in right now with the COVID, it's really, our officers really feel the pressure every day. You know, our dispatch is getting as much information as they can. So when the first responders, whether it be sheriff's office, whether it be fire, whether it be EMS, police department, whoever is responding to whatever the call may be, they're trying to get us the information so we know what we're getting ourselves into when we get there, and that we can, not that we're not going to go, but we will defend ourselves appropriately as far as, you know, safety measures that we need to take to make sure that our officers are as safe as they possibly can be from infection from the COVID. It's definitely a different environment for us, and it's stressful for everybody, the citizens, the officers, everybody, and we're working through it. But we want to also say that we are very appreciative of the way that our Board of Commissioners and the county manager has been supporting us and working with us to make sure our officers are as safe as they possibly can, and that we can respond as quickly as we possibly can to whatever the calls for service may be. Again, I want to reiterate, I appreciate our citizens. I appreciate the love and support that they've shown our officers, and they fed us so much that I think they're trying to slow us down a little bit, but it's definitely been a good thing, because our officers do feel like that people care about them, and I appreciate that. I'd like to turn it over to Dave Belton for him to give us an update. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, Sheriff. Good morning, Veldy. Really appreciate y'all doing this. This really is one of the highlights of my year, to talk to my Morgan friends. And I do appreciate the One Morgan team that's been so helpful and so strong in this whole pandemic. I want to say a special thank you to the hospital folks, the nurses, the doctors, Dr. Zant in particular. I'm really glad we have a new hospital. I want to thank Ellen Warren and Terry Evans. They took some hard decisions, but we are reaping the fruit of their labors, and with that new hospital, I'm very, very pleased about that. I want to thank the teachers. Dr. Cole, I think, has said an extremely great tone about getting back to schools. A lot of people are not going back to schools, but I'm glad that he did a poll that almost all parents wanted to go back to schools, and we're doing that. And I want to thank the teachers. And I know there's going to be some hiccups, but I think overall it's important that kids are back in school, if nothing else for their own mental and psychological well-being. y'all want to know about the session? Of course, we had a weird session because of the COVID virus. It was a strange session. It was a very difficult session. We had a lot of difficult choices to make. We had to cut the budget. The good news is we thought we had to cut the budget by about 14%. Instead, we cut the budget only about 10%. So nobody was fired on a state level. There's a lot of folks we didn't replace, but there's no one was fired, or no teachers were being furloughed on state level. So we're very happy that the numbers came in much better than we thought, what we expected them to. We passed some really good legislation. The hate crime bill, I was proud to vote for that. There's a lot of folks said that was not going to happen, but it did happen. And so I'm glad we were able to get that accomplished. We did an important human trafficking bill. As you know, Georgia, unfortunately, Atlanta is one of the worst places in the world for human trafficking. So we're trying to address that in, I think, a very aggressive way. Nursing home bill, we did a nursing home bill to have more accountability for nursing homes. We did an important maternal mortality bill. Vaping bill was important. We're doing less testing now, less testing for our kids. In general, parents are always concerned we're testing too much. So we did another, I was actually a leader in one of this effort a couple years ago. We reduced the number of testing. We reduced it again. So we're hoping that's going to be helpful to the teachers. And one of my pet projects is of course military. And it's hard to believe, over the last 3 years we've passed over 42 new military bills to help our Georgia folks in the military. Again, the budget, I was happy that we were not having to cut more than we did, but again, we did cut about 10%, and that we did. So that's obviously not a good thing. But I want to address the real elephant in the room, of course, is COVID. We've had over 4,700 deaths, and that's terrible, and that's 4,700 deaths too many. I want you to know that the governor has done another executive order, I think a couple days ago, allowing locals to enforce and do mask mandates. I think that was welcome. I always agree with local control. I think locals should have the ability to maintain their own jurisdictions. You know, there's no playbook for COVID. No one had a great plan for how to deal with the pandemic. So I appreciate everyone's patience. And I'm not going to talk about numbers. Normally, I'm a very big number guy, but most of y'all know the numbers better than I do about the deaths and the cases. The good thing is last couple weeks, we've had a reduction in hospitalizations in Georgia, about 7% last week or so. The positivity rate is decreased from 12 to about 9% last week or two. I think the cases are going down the last 2 weeks by about 22%. And I know Georgia is not on some of the good lists, but one good list we're on is that we have the 6th lowest transmission rate in the nation right now. So I think we're hopefully getting past this area we're in right now. The COVID, it's hard to imagine how many jobs we lost. Initially, we lost a third of all Georgians had lost their jobs because of COVID virus, because of the shutdown. Right now, Georgia is one of the best states in economic recovery, and we can argue that round or square whether or not that's what we should be doing. But right now, Georgia's recovery is better than most in terms of revenue and the economy. Even so much so that there's talk about a new special session, possibly to do the budget again, and hopefully to lessen some of those cost-cutting measures we had to do. That there's a one bill about farmers' relief, the scriber's error. Sometimes when the lawyers make the bills, that they don't turn out exactly right. Sometimes lawyers have, different lawyers have different opinions of how the bill is written. So we might go back into session yet again before January and fix that. And there's a lot of talk about possibly reducing some of these cuts as well. So we'll see how that goes. I want you to know that Georgia still enjoys a AAA bond rating. It doesn't mean much to some folks, but what that means is that that, along with our balanced budget, and most states don't balance their budget. Georgia does it every year, and because of that, we have a very, very strong economy. Georgia is the 7th best place in America. Sorry, it's the first best place in America for 7 years in a row for doing business. And so business means wealth and prosperity, and it means we can fund all these different efforts we're trying to do. So in general, Georgia's done very, very, very well the last 7 years. Almost 1 million jobs have been created in the last 7 or 8 years. So those are good things, but of course we're still battling with this virus. I want to say another good thing is Takeda, they're in Stanton Springs. They're doing what they call the COVID alliance, or a plasma alliance, where if you're tested positive or recovered from COVID, they want to take plasma from you and create a way to mitigate the effects on other folks. So if you have had COVID and you're recovered from that, please go to their website, Takeda. I think it's called COVIDplasmaAlliance.org. It's a way to help the recovery until we get a vaccine. And I just want to say, I think you should wear a mask. I wear a mask, and I hope everyone wears a mask when they cannot socially distance. I think that's important. I think that the science, there was a lot of controversy early on, but I think now the science is that we should wear masks. I wear a mask, and I think everyone else should as well. Last one thing is One Morgan, and I'm really proud to be part of this really great community. Thank you, Veldy.
Well, thank you all for taking time out of your day today to update us in your particular area. I hope you all heard the same theme that I heard throughout our speakers today, and that is that we are stronger together because we are a team. So, as a city, as a county, as a community, we definitely have that support from each other and from just the citizens in Morgan County to be the best that we can be. Veldy started us off with, we are driven by data, so data does drive our vision, but our mission of Family Connection here in Morgan County really does drive our community outreach efforts, and it wouldn't be possible without you all and your support that you have for us. So we appreciate that. I know, Adam really kicked us off with making sure that, the understanding that it does take all of us to make our community stronger and that we are better together. Bob led us into our industry is strong too, and that is something that is really something to be proud of. And it's very resilient, and I think that speaks volumes, especially during the time that we're in now. And then, moving into our state of education, we really have that team approach there, and it's very encouraging to see that everyone is doing their part to make our the best it can be at the schools for our students. And then, of course, for our local governments, it really is about taking care of not only buildings and roads, but also our people. And I think that's really important as well. Fabulous to have the hospital that we have here in Morgan County. And we really appreciate our law enforcement and all that they're doing to keep us safe and strong as well. And then thank you, Dave, for representing us so well up in Atlanta, throughout the state. We really appreciate that. So again, I just love being a part of this community, and I appreciate everyone's efforts to make us that strong One Morgan. So Veldy, I'll just kind of check in with you to see if you have anything, or if we want to open it up for questions.
Thanks, Leanne. No, I don't have anything. I think I've shared everything I wanted to share and shared my thanks to everyone.
Can I add one more thing? I'm sorry. I wrote this down. I just forgot to say it. I want to thank especially Sheriff Markley and Chief Ashburn for their professionalism. I think they've done a great job. Just being professional and keeping the peace, and also bringing the community together. But I also want to say a real strong thank you to Fred Perriman, the mayor of Madison. He has been a guiding light and a really steady rudder at the helm through all these different situations. I just want to thank all three of those men for their leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Can I add one more thing, if you don't mind? And this is, I'm kind of directing this to Ralph. I just want to tell him thank you for the leadership at the hospital. And I also would like to mention to Ralph that Angie Benson, my former secretary, retired, is out there staying with him right now, and asked for a special favor for him to keep an eye on her for me, and I wish her the best. And I hope everybody else will pray for her. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Yes. All right. Well, does anybody have any other last comments before we adjourn our meeting today? Well, be sure if you didn't sign into the chat box, that you put your name and what organization you're representing today. So Veldy has a record of that. And so if there's nothing else for the good of the people today, we will officially adjourn our 2020 annual State of Morgan County Forum, and hopefully look forward to seeing you all in September for our collaborative meeting, albeit virtual possibly. But please take care and stay strong. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Y'all take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.